Political militant Islam portal Islamism is a concept whose meaning has been debated in both public and academic contexts. The term can refer to diverse forms of social and political activism advocating that public and political life should be guided by Islamic principles, or more specifically to movements that call for full implementation of Sharia. It is commonly used interchangeably with the terms such as political Islam or Islamic fundamentalism, giving this term more than one sense and referring to different concepts. In academic usage, the term Islamism does not specify what vision of Islamic order or Sharia is being advocated, or how the advocates intend to bring about that vision. In Western mass media, it tends to refer to groups whose aim is to establish a Sharia-based Islamic state, often with implication of violent tactics and human rights violations, and has acquired connotations of political extremism. In the Muslim world, the term has positive connotations among its proponents. Different currents of Islamist thought include advocating a revolutionary strategy of Islamizing society through exercise of state power, and alternately a reformist strategy to re-Islamizing society through grassroots social and political activism. Islamists may emphasize the implementation of Sharia, pan-Islamic political unity, including an Islamic state, or selective removal of non-Muslim, particularly Western military, economic, political, social, or cultural influences in the Muslim world that they believe to be incompatible with Islam. Graham Fuller has argued for a broader notion of Islamism as a form of identity politics, involving support for identity, authenticity, broader regionalism, revivalism, revitalization of the community. Some authors hold the term Islamic activism to be synonymous and preferable to Islamism, and Rachid Ghanuchi writes that Islamists prefer to use the term Islamic movement themselves. Central and prominent figures in 20th century Islamism include Hassan al-Banna, Saeed Qutbi, Abul Arla Maududi, and Ruhollah Khomeini. Many Islamist movements, such as the Muslim Brotherhood, have been willing to pursue their ends by peaceful political processes, rather than revolutionary means. Others, Saeed Qutbi in particular, called for violence, and his followers are generally considered Islamic extremists, although Qutbi denounced the killing of innocents. According to Robin Wright, Islamist movements have arguably altered the Middle East more than any trend since the modern states gained independence, redefining politics and even borders. Following the Arab Spring, some Islamist currents became heavily involved in democratic politics, while others spawned the most aggressive and ambitious Islamist militia to date, ISIS. The term Islamism, which originally denoted the religion of Islam, first appeared in the English language as Islamismus in 1696, and as Islamism in 1712. The term appears in the U.S. Supreme Court decision in re Ross. By the turn of the 20th century, the shorter and purely Arabic term, Islam, had begun to displace it, and by 1938, when Orientalist scholars completed the Encyclopedia of Islam, Islamism seems to have virtually disappeared from English usage. The term Islamism acquired its contemporary connotations in French academia in the late 1970s and early 1980s. From French, it began to migrate to the English language in the mid-1980s, and in recent years has largely displaced the term Islamic fundamentalism in academic circles. The new use of the term Islamism at first functioned as a marker for scholars more likely to sympathize with new Islamic movements. However, as the term gained popularity, it became more specifically associated with political groups such as the Taliban or the Algerian Armed Islamic Group, as well as with highly publicized acts of violence. Islamists, who have spoken out against the use of the term, insisting they are merely Muslims, include Ayatollah Muhammad Hussein Fadlallah, the spiritual mentor of Hezbollah, and Abbasi Madani, leader of the Algerian Islamic Salvation Front. A 2003 article in the Middle East Quarterly states, in summation, the term Islamism enjoyed its first run, lasting from Voltaire to the First World War, as a synonym for Islam. Enlightened scholars and writers generally preferred it to Mohammedanism. Eventually both terms yielded to Islam, the Arabic name of the faith, and a word free of either pejorative or comparative associations. There was no need for any other term, until the rise of an ideological and political interpretation of Islam challenged scholars and commentators to come up with an alternative, to distinguish Islam as modern ideology from Islam as a faith. To all intents and purposes, Islamic fundamentalism and Islamism have become synonyms in contemporary American usage. The Council on American Islamic Relations complained in 2013 that the Associated Press's definition